Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the online seminar of the InnoCarnival 2022. I'm Eva, the MC of today. This seminar will be conducted in English. We would like to welcome all of you to joining us today, and we are very happy to have Dr. Benjamin Luke Moorhouse, Assistant Professor, Department of Education Studies, Hong Kong Baptist University, here with us today. And he will share with us the topic on how to use digital tools for English language learning. Before we start, if you have any questions during the seminar, please feel free to leave us a message, and we will conduct a Q&A section at around the last 5 minutes of today's seminar. Okay, now the sharing session will begin. Let's welcome our speaker, Dr. Benjamin Luke Moorhouse.
Thank you so much, Eva, for the introduction. I feel very lucky to have the chance to speak today for the InnoCarnival 2022. So thank you for this chance. So just like Eva mentioned, I'm going to be talking to you about how to use digital tools for English language learning. Now, joining me through Zoom, which is a digital tool, and for many of us, it's been one of the ways that we've been learning all our subjects because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So many of us are very familiar with learning online and using digital tools for our learning. But what I want to do today is to kind of think about what we need in order to learn English or language. And then I'm going to show you some different tools that we can use for our own independent learning. So when we're at home, we don't have our teachers around, and we want something, to help us to learn or to help us to access the different kinds of resources our school might be providing, how we might be able to do that. So I'm going to share with you some different tools for that. But first, I just wanted to think about, what do we need to be successful to learn? What do we need to successfully learn language? Okay, so for me, there's kind of 3 things we need. One is the desire. We need to want to learn. Okay, so if we don't want to learn English, then it's going to be very hard for us to learn because we're going to put up this filter that says, I don't want to learn, I don't want to learn, I don't want to learn. And when we do that, we won't learn. So we definitely need the desire. We need to want to learn. And we have to think about why we want to learn, okay? And that will motivate us and keep us engaged and interested in our learning. So no matter if we come across hard times or difficult times or challenging times in our learning, we can get over those things because we have that desire. The next is ability. So we need the knowledge, okay? We need to know how we learn, okay? We need the skills of learning. So we need to know what to do when we're learning. And we need attributes to learn. So we need different things and skills and ideas that help us to learn. So for example, taking notes might be something that helps us to learn. Talking to our teacher or talking to our peers in English, classmates in English, can help us to learn. Watching videos on YouTube can help us to learn. So knowing those things about us, knowing those things can help us to learn, allows us to learn, right? Okay, so this is that ability, knowing what we can use to help us to learn and knowing how to use those things to help us to learn, okay? So that's something we need. And then we need support. So we need teachers, okay? We need resources and we need materials, okay? So we need someone to help us or something to help us to learn, right? If we just sit there by ourselves with nothing at all, with strong motivation, but with nothing, we can't learn, okay? So we need the motivation to learn or the desire. We need the ability, okay? So we need to know how to learn, and we need the support. So we need someone to help us to learn or something to help us to learn, okay? So let's look a little bit more at the support that we need. So usually the support will be our teachers, resources, and materials. So this might be our textbooks. This might be other people in our lives, like our parents, our friends. It can also be things like textbooks. It can be internet resources like YouTube videos. It can be reading books. It can be lots of different things that are our resources. And these things can help structure our learning. So usually our teachers will do that, right? They will help us to structure our learning. So they'll say, this is what we need to learn today, this is what we need to learn tomorrow, this is what we need to learn the next day to help us to get to our goal of learning English. And then we need scaffolding. So we have this structure of what we need to learn every day, and then our teachers will help give us the right support at the right time to help us to learn, okay? We need input. So we need a chance to read English, and we need the chance to listen to English. And we need lots and lots and lots and lots of input to help us to learn, okay? If we don't have enough input, then it's very hard for us to learn, okay? But that input has to be something we can understand, right? So we have to be able to listen and understand. We have to be able to read and understand. Then we also need output. So we need the chances to speak, okay? So we have to use English to speak, and we need the chance to write. We have to be able to use English to write, okay? Because writing and speaking make us think about how we say a sentence, how we construct a written sentence, right? When we're reading, we don't need to do that. We can just understand. But when we're speaking and writing, we need to be able to think about what we want to say and how is the best way to say that. So it requires a different process that we need to go through. Okay, so we need output. And we need practice, okay? So we need to be looking at little bits of knowledge and skills, okay? And then working on those things to make those better, okay? So this might be vocabulary, okay? So looking at specific vocabulary words that we need to use and working on improving those. It could be things like spelling, okay? It could be things like pronunciation. It could be things like using different grammar, okay? So this kind of practice on these skills will help us to improve. And we need feedback, right? We need to know if what we are doing is the right thing, okay? We need to know if we, how we can do things better so we can get better at our English, okay? If we don't get feedback, then we won't know where our problems are and what we need to do to help us to improve on those problems, okay? Also, we won't know where our strengths are, so we won't know which places we don't need to work on, okay? So we can use our time wisely, working on those things that will make us better users of English, okay? So technology can also help us with all of these things as well. They can help us scaffold, okay? So they can give us more support if we don't have the support that we need. It can give us input. There's lots and lots of websites and materials now on the internet that we can use to give us access to different texts. So we can read different texts, we can listen to different texts. It gives us a chance for output, okay? So we can practice speaking, we can practice writing, it can support our speaking, it can support our writing. It can give us individual skills practice on things like vocabulary and grammar. As we're using these things, we can get feedback from the technology that tells us we're doing the right thing or not. That can help us. And also it can be fun because it can be really, really engaging online, lots and lots of things to see. It can be personal because we're the ones that find the things we need. It can be authentic because people have made it, not for our learning, but for other reasons. And it's judgment-free. So we don't have to be scared that someone's going to say, oh, you did it wrong, or you said it wrong, you got that wrong, because it's just us and the technology interacting together. So let's look at some tools then that might help us in our learning. So the first one is video resources, okay? So there's lots and lots of different video resources online. So obviously the most common one is YouTube, and I'm sure many of you are aware of YouTube and used YouTube before. But I'm going to give you a couple of other ones that might be useful. The first is English Central. So this one is for language learning. So they have videos for beginners, intermediate, and advanced learners of English. So let me just show you what I mean here, okay? So I'm just going to share with you English Central. So English Central is a site that has lots and lots of videos. It also has some subscription services you have to pay for, but you don't have to use those. You can just use the free videos, and they can help you to look at some listening input in different situations. So here we have one that is about a job interview.
My job interview is on July 5th.
When is the meeting?
The meeting is on October 21st.
So that's just a very short clip there, just to show you the kinds of videos that you might find there. This one's a very beginner one, okay? And there's more advanced ones as well. So this can be good for you to have a look at if you're preparing for a presentation, or if you're preparing for a different situations. You can go here and look at videos that show you what you might expect in those situations, and you can look at these, okay? Another one I'm going to share with you, which is for news. This is a little bit more challenging because this is authentic text, but it's designed for children, so it makes it easier for us to be able to understand it, is Newsround. This comes from the BBC. So every day they have a news program for children, okay? So it's mainly for teenagers. So the language is a little bit easier and the content is a little bit easier. So let me show you what that might look like. So every day you can see here, there's lots and lots of videos about different things that are happening. So it's very topical, very relevant to what's happening now, which can be really interesting for us to learn. Okay, so this is the one from yesterday on Sunday. So you can see here.
Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to Newsround with me, Shaniqua. Let's start with some news for all of our Doctor Who fans. This evening, you'll be saying goodbye to Jodie Whittaker, who will star as the Doctor for the last time. Jodie made history in 2017 when she became the first woman in that role. Next year, Ncuti Gatwa will become the first black man as the Time Lord next year.
Okay, so you can see, let me just change this sharing. Here we go. So you can see this one, the language might be a little bit difficult, but you can go here every day and just watch the short clip, about 6 minutes, and it gives you some authentic input to English, on a daily basis about things you might be interested in. Okay, so Newsround is another video resource that might be useful for you. We can also find lots of reading materials online, okay? And some of these will be very familiar to you maybe, but some of them may be not so familiar. So one that I like a lot is Nat Geo Kids, because Nat Geo Kids has lots of reading materials that are designed for children, okay? So they also have videos as well, they also have games, but we can go, if we scroll down, we can find lots of different information things about different things. So if we look at this one, countries here, we can go in here and then we can find information about different countries around the world. So for example, Argentina. And we can go inside and we can find some pictures, we can find facts, we can find information about where it is, we can find about culture. This type of information can be very interesting for us. Lots of images to help us to understand, okay? So we can go here and find this information, and we can also find lots of videos as well that can also be interesting, have lots of rich English for us to listen to and engage with, okay? So that's another resource. And another one, if we're looking for books that might be easier for us to read, is Epic. So Epic is a big online library that some of your schools might use that has many, many books that we can read. Now, there is a subscription for Epic, but they also have a free version that has some books that we can use, that we can read every month. So I don't subscribe to Epic, but I can still find many, many books that I would be interested to read. I just have to remember that I can't read that many books every month, okay? So we can go into a book. So we've got Santa's underwear here, okay? And we can read the book, okay? We can see the book here. And the nice thing is it has
Christmas.
If we click on words, it will give us some information about the word, okay? And it also help us to say the word as well if we don't know the word. So this can be very useful for us, okay? So if there's any parents listening, this can be a really useful website for us to find books for our children to read, and it has support like read aloud function and things like this, so they can engage with those stories by themselves. Okay. So yeah, I'm giving you lots and lots of different resources here, okay, because I don't have a long time, but I want to give you as much rich resources as possible. Now I want to look at some skills practice, particularly for vocabulary, because I know that spelling and words are really, really important to our language development. And we have a big vocabulary. We can do lots of things with language. So the first tool I want to introduce you to is called Word Hippo. Okay, so Word Hippo is a word tool. It's free, completely free online. And it's really, really useful for learning language. I'm just going to share this one with you as well. So here we go. Okay, so this is Word Hippo. It's very easy to use. Okay, so what we can do, we could got synonyms, so words that mean something similar, antonyms, opposites, definitions, rhymes. We can find the word in sentences. We can do translation. We can do find words, okay? We can do word forms and we can do pronunciation. So if there's a word in your dictation or a word in one of the books that you're reading or a word that your teacher says and you don't know what that word means, you can come here and you can type the word in and you can find lots of information about that word that can help you to understand that word, okay? So let's think of, so let me just type in a word here, like, let me go carnival. Carnival, okay? That's from the one of the words we're using now. So here we can find lots of things about the word, okay? So here we have a context, okay, for the word. Here we have some different synonyms, okay? And then we can go here and find a definition, okay? It defines it, and we can also check how the word is there.
Carnival.
Okay? And we can find even translations of the word. Can I? Maybe no translations for this one, but you can also find it in sentences as well. Okay, and it will also read the sentence to you, so you can hear the sentence being said. Okay, so this can be very useful for our dictation, for when we are reading, and we need to find more about a word than we already know. And sometimes just hearing the pronunciation helps us to connect that word to a word we already know, and we can know it already. Okay, so here we are, say it.
Carnival.
So the next tool I want to share is for our kind of practice. Okay, so this one's called Word Wall. I'm sure you might be familiar with this already. Okay, so Word Wall is a tool for making games. Okay, so we can make our own games using Word Wall. Okay, so again, there's a free version that we can do, and then it's very easy for us to create new activities. So if we have our dictation list, we can go and make a game. Okay, we might have lots of words that we need to practice. So we can type the words in here. Let's go with this nice simple one for our example. So we can type in, say, for example, cat, and then we can find a picture. Okay, and then dog. Okay, we can find a picture. Okay, mouse. And we can do this with the more complicated words as well. Okay, I see it comes up with a computer mouse. That's probably more common than a real mouse now. And then once we have all the words we want, we can have up to 30 words, then we can create a game. Okay, so I've created a match-up game here. Okay, so this is very easy. I just have to match the pictures to the words. A little bit boring, I'm sure. Okay, but the cool thing is down the side, we can create new games. So once we have our list of words here, we can create other games that we can use with that word list. Okay, so we don't get so bored. Okay, so we can keep practicing our dictation words or other words that we want to learn using Word Wall. Okay, and we can just get lots of practice matching the word to the picture or matching the word to the definition or doing lots and lots of kind of different activities like that. Okay, and we can make them ourselves to play ourselves. Okay, just got a Another one that I want to share with you that's quite useful is called WordSift. So WordSift is a tool for analyzing text. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you this one. Okay, so let me just share with you. I might not be able to show you all the tools today, but I'll talk through some of them, okay, and then I'll share with you. Okay, so here I've taken a piece of work and I can type it into here. Okay, so ideally if it's 300 words long, but it does do shorter as well. And then we can sift it, okay? And it shows us which words are the most common words. So we know which words we might need to be learning, okay? And also it helps us to visualize the words. So it can make connections for us so we can learn the relationships between that word and other words. And it also shows us the sentences the words appear in and images to help us to understand those words. So we can click on another one and then different pictures come up. We can click on another one and different pictures come up. Okay, so then we can see this relationship here and we can learn this thing. Okay, all this can help us to make connections on our head to help us to understand the words. Okay, I know the time is very short, so I will just quickly show a couple more. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you one from this page, which is Youglish. Okay, so Youglish can help us with our pronunciation. So sometimes we might have some words that we don't know how to say. And if we don't have someone with us, it's hard for us to know what they say. Youglish searches YouTube to find words that have a similar sound to that of us. So we can find it here, okay? So we can use American, UK, Australian, and there's also other types of accents as well. And we can type in the word and then we can have them say it, okay? Oh, I don't know why it didn't play this time. It's typical, isn't it, when you're trying something? So let's try the next one.
Show. There's more than just marine life here, with over 20 outdoor attractions like carnival rides and playgrounds.
You can hear it said in a sentence, you can hear how someone might say it. Okay. Okay. And then I'll just share a few more and then I'll give you a chance for questions. Okay. So Grammarly, that's another one that's really useful for us when if we've written a piece of work, we can put our work into Grammarly and it will help us to see if we've made any mistakes or if there's any better words we might be able to use to improve our work. Okay. And here are some fun tools that I just wanted to share with you. One is Make Believe's Comics that can help us to make comic strips. Meme Generator can help us to make memes. Puppet Pals can help us to make little skits, okay, that we can perform on, okay? And MES English can give us lots of resources that we can use for learning, like word searches, crosswords, things like this, okay? So there's some useful tools here. And then just to remind you that, you know, whenever online, we've always got to be careful. It's can be a little bit Wild West out there. If you want to be safe online, then I recommend you use child-safe search options like Kiddle, which is Google, but for children, okay? So all the searches will be nice and safe if we use Kiddle, okay? So thank you and happy language learning. I think we've got about 5 minutes left for Q&A. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moorhouse, for your amazing sharing and also the brilliant tools introduced in your sharing. And now we'll proceed to the Q&A section and we'll see if our audience got questions for us. And I know a lot of audience are very interested in the useful links introduced by Dr. Moorhouse in the sharing session. And you're welcome to see our playback after the seminar, today's seminar. We will share the seminar on the YouTube channels and you can get back to that video and to mark your useful tools. And okay, we've got one question from our audience. It's after 2 years and almost 3 by now of the pandemic and remote learning, some of the younger students are reluctant or maybe less concentrated to learn online. So we would like to seek any advice to the teachers on how to motivate the children to use the online resources.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's not the main topic of my talk, but definitely a challenge. I think lots of brain breaks. So we have to remember that they're online for a long time, that we give them a chance to not look at the screen, look out the window, make sure that we break our teaching and our time on screen into shorter periods of time. Like lessons online should never be as long as lessons.
Yes, sure.
Real lessons. So we've got to make sure that they're shorter and should take a break regularly when we are teaching them online or they're online. I think that's important. Yeah,
just to keep the lessons short and interesting, to keep them concentrated.
Yeah, and just remember that they might have been online doing other things before we ask them to do something and after we have to do something. So just look at the whole period, not just our lesson as well. So make sure they have these breaks in the day. Whenever I have to spend a lot of time on my computer too. So I spend a lot of time looking out the window as well to kind of make sure I can refocus when I look back on the screen.
Yes, sure. Thank you. And we've got other questions like any recommendations or materials are good for the output session?
I didn't spend a lot of time on output, but there's lots of tools now that can help us to make videos, can help us make multimodal texts. So for example, we can use things like Flipgrid, we can use things like Seesaw, we can use things like Canva. These all have ways to make different kinds of texts. So we can take a little bit of language and we can make something really, really exciting. So if we're working with younger learners, then things like Seesaw can be great because they can make a short video introducing themselves, and then they can put little graphics on it, like clip art and things like that. So they can make it look quite professional, which they really like, and can kind of engage them and motivate them to use more language.
Sure. And okay. We've got another question on some of the kids love reading English books, but they are a bit reluctant to speak or express themselves in English. So are there any recommendations on motivating them to speak more?
Yeah, that's really challenging, isn't it? But it's great that your kids love reading English books. That's a really good start. I mean, it depends how old your children are a little bit. I often recommend that there can be English if both the mommy and daddy speak Chinese at home, but they can speak English, then you can have like a English game time where you play a board game in English. That can be a good thing to do. It's about having like a shared experience, I think. The English is being used, and if they just like they relate English to reading books, then they can relate English to playing games. So that can be really fun. So get some board games and play them in English. That can be a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, I also agree with the kids. When they are with their families or friends, they feel like more comfortable to express themselves. So yeah. And okay, due to our time constraint, maybe we will ask one more questions in this session. Yes, let me see. We have questions like how to speak like a native. Wow, this is a very difficult question, even for me, the second language learner.
I don't think the goal necessarily is to speak like a native. Speak like yourself and be happy with how you sound, I think.
Just be confident.
I think we have to be happy that we can think of the world as world English is now. So we have to even think, what does it mean to be a native when it comes to English?
I agree. Yes, and now, maybe this is the end of our Q&A session. And we'd like to thank Dr. Moorhouse again for your sharing and answering our questions.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for inviting me.
And for our audience, please stay behind, and because we would like to collect your opinion on our online seminar. So you can see a QR code on the monitor, and this is a QR code for the online seminar survey. So we'll be very grateful if you can spend a minute or two to leave your comments and opinions or recommendations to us.